Last year, my portfolio grew at about 61% return on investment. And thus far this year, it's growing at a rate of 100%. If it continues to grow at this rate, it'll be a doubling of its size. My portfolio will go up from 900,000 to 1.8 million. And as I look back at it and I say, how have I been able to do this? It comes down to I'm a stock picker. I pick stocks that are going to get good returns, and I understand what I own. So I said to myself, how do I get better at that? What tools can I access that can make me a better stock picker? And I focused on and come up with Seeking Alpha. And I've tried to learn as much as I could about Seeking Alpha. And so I reached out to the founder and CEO of Seeking Alpha and said, look, I think my viewers, my tribe members could benefit from knowing more about Seeking Alpha. I'd like to form a partnership with him. And he's agreed to it. I want to emphasize this is not a paid video. Seeking Alpha is not paying me anything. They are giving me access to their premium platform, and they are teaching me about it. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to spend about a half an hour with the CEO and founder, David Jackson, of Seeking Alpha. And I'm going to ask him some questions that I think you would ask him before you would become a payer for his premium. So this video is going to be about how to become a better stock picker, which will ultimately take us to our three goals as best of us investors. Number one, making good, sound investment decisions. Number two, keeping what we know, more of what we make by understanding our tax code. And number three, building family wealth. So that's what we're going to do. And I think you're going to find this very informative.
Best of Us Investors presents Carrie Griegmeyer.
Let's talk about where we want to go with this.
Yeah.
As I said, I think your idea of maybe us getting on and you taking me to a screen and educating me on how to use your software for Facebook. As you have opened it up to me, I'm amazed. I have learned some of the stocks that I currently own, maybe I don't want to own.
Wow.
Yeah, because you've opened some things to me that I wasn't aware of. And the other thing I think is really cool is when I go to your analyst and I see that they wrote a story back in October of last year on a particular stock, and it shows me on a chart over here, a black dot, and how the stock performed relative to their prediction.
Yes.
Which I thought was pretty brave on your part.
Yes. And how are you thinking? If you like, what questions are the questions that you'd most like us to cover in the call?
I need to understand how this happened. Did this happen because you are an investor and you saw a need, or did this happen as a result of you are a techie and you saw what caused you to create this thing?
So, by the way, I think that's a great question for us to discuss. I was a research analyst for an investment bank in the tech bubble, and I'm not a serial entrepreneur. You know, there are many startup founders who are just incredible people who say, okay, where's a really big market ready for disruption?
Yeah,
I'm going to start a company there, and they do it over and over again, right? there's another type of founder of startups, of people who build the product that they want themselves.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, I was a research analyst for Morgan Stanley, and I saw that people were publishing views about stocks on blogs, and that the future was moving away from the gatekeepers and away from the establishment into, just like restaurant reviews, used to be, you buy a book, the Michelin Guide or Zagat's or something like that. And therefore they determined what people thought about restaurants. And then suddenly restaurant reviews moved to Yelp, book reviews moved to Amazon, right? It was like the wisdom of crowds. And so I realized, as I saw all of this content starting to be published on the web, and what I realized was it's going to be incredibly valuable to aggregate this and to filter it, because there's lots of risk for manipulation. You don't know how reliable somebody is. You don't know whether they're a criminal, right?
Right.
And so someone needs to come in the stock market and aggregate this content, but also ensure that it's compliant, meaning that the compliance standards, which are standard in the finance industry, to make sure that people are honest. Like, if you have a position in a stock that you're writing about, you should disclose it so that people realize you have that position. And so basically with Seeking Alpha, I just built the product that I wanted. Okay. And so even now, Seeking Alpha is a 200-person company, but I personally am deeply involved in our product because
when you
I use
200-person, is that all the writers?
No, that's just our employees. There's thousands of contributors.
Okay.
We've got 200 employees and thousands of contributors.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, the product that I just gave you access to, Kerry, has had like tens of millions of dollars of investment in it. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to show it to you and give it to you, right?
Right.
Because I'll just give you one kind of example, which is a lot of what we've been thinking about over the last year was, when I started Seeking Alpha, it was, we're going to get you all the articles. The whole philosophy of Seeking Alpha is, number one, treat our readers as intelligent people. Don't treat them as people who need to be told what to do. Okay. Treat them as people making their own decisions. And the best way to help people to make their own decisions is to give them both sides of the argument.
Yeah.
And let them evaluate it and let them choose for themselves. That might sound like a really obvious thing because, for example, that's the way the whole legal system in America and Western countries work, right? Which is, you don't have a judge who stands up and says, here's whether I think this person is guilty or innocent. You have a jury who listens to both sides of the case, always. And so you don't expect people to be unbiased, right? Mm-hmm. The job of the prosecutor is to make the case that the guy's guilty. The job of the defense attorney is to make the case that the person's innocent. If you say, are they biased? Of course they're biased. That's their job to be biased. But for the jury, the whole system ends up being really unbiased. And so that's the philosophy of Seeking Alpha, that we want people who own stocks to write articles explaining why they own the stock. And then when you read the article, you can say, oh, well, this person owns the stock. But now I can read an article by somebody who's bearish on the stock, who sold the stock, right? Or is short the stock. And that's fine. What we do as a platform is we put every side in front of you so that you can decide for yourself. And
I guess as I've used it, I haven't seen that. And that's something I think you need to guide me through when we do this. Where is the contrary opinion?
So let me just for fun now. I'm going to screen share. Okay. So you see, as a premium subscriber, under every headline, you get this label here that tells you what the person's view of the stock is, whether they're bullish or bearish.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This guy's bearish on Facebook, right?
All right.
These guys are bullish and this guy's neutral. And one of the things I'll show you on our call is you can go to analysis here, click here. Do you see where I clicked in the navigation? And I can say, I just want to see the bearish and the very bearish articles on the stock. Here it is. So now I can see why people are back. I can say if I'm want to go long this stock, now I can at least understand what I should be looking out for.
See, I
So
didn't know that.
but by the way, there's no reason you should have done, because I just turned you on to premium, and that's a premium feature.
So
Also,
I
you
guess
can,
I'm asking you is, do you depend upon me to figure this out yourself, or do you have tutorials?
we have tutorials, and by the way, this is the one disadvantage of me giving you a free subscription, which is what happens when somebody signs up is we send them tutorials, and they go through a series of tutorials, and we can send them videos as well. Because I just turned you on in the system with a free annual subscription, you've missed the tutorials.
I see.
But you get a bonus, which is you get the founder and CEO giving you the personal tutorial, right?
Okay.
Which is better than
I guess that's something I need to bring out, is that when you do sign up, you do get these tutorials.
Yes, but by the way, I'm very happy to run through things with you and for you to publish them as YouTube videos for your users.
Yeah.
And say, here's the features that I like most, and so here's how to use them.
Yeah, I as I have thought about, I think I told you that we are starting a Best of Us Investors University. And this first interview that we do is going to be a free class in the university for anybody who is part of our Discord. They will basically get it. There will be a price on the class, but they will get a free coupon to see it. And then I believe I will then, and possibly you and I then, will go deeper and deeper and deeper, and offer more information on how it works. And
but
then,
you know what would
go ahead.
Which is maybe consider also, because for me this I think would be more helpful, which is if you were to publish this on your YouTube channel, but say at the end of the video, this is the first video in my university, in our university, that you can sign up for in the Discord channel. And that way you'll get all the views on YouTube and you'll get paid for it. But you'll promote the university in the Discord channel.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Either way.
Yeah.
Well, I think in fact, I'm with you there. Yeah, that'll get.
I was going to tell you kind of about the system, just to give you color, like for the call. A lot of what we've spent the last year and a half doing is when we built Seeking Alpha. It had all of this information in it, right? Like all of the articles. You could read a ton. The problem was that for many investors, they don't want to put all that time in, or they're willing to put the time in, but only when they've narrowed their short list of the stocks that they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the key questions that we addressed was, how do we help you evaluate a stock like in 2 minutes, and then give you the material to drill down a lot?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what premium really does for you. And so, for example, you'll see, we'll talk about this on the call, but it's these boxes here, right? The rating summary and the factor grades and the quant ranking, right?
Mm-hmm.
That really give you the kind of 2-minute view of the stock, which is incredibly powerful. The essay authors and Wall Street ratings are the average rating on the stock by all the sell-side analysts, which is Wall Street, and all the alpha authors. And if you scroll down to underneath the articles, you can see here in this box what the distribution of opinion is about the stock. You can see that there are 16 authors who covered Facebook on Seeking Alpha in the last 30 days. And you can see the breakdown. And on average, it's a 3.71. 5 is the most bullish, and 0 is the most bearish.
Okay.
Or 1 is the most bearish. And Wall Street is more bullish on Facebook. They happen to have 48 analysts covering it, because tons of Wall Street analysts cover Facebook. And then what we did was we put summaries for the people who are bullish and bearish on the stock. Here's what they say in one sentence about why. So without having to spend 5 hours, you can quickly get, here's the bull case on Facebook and the bear case on Facebook. And I understand, Seeking Alpha versus Wall Street. Often Seeking Alpha has a much better track record than Wall Street, right? Because it's wisdom of the crowds, right? But then what we did was we asked ourselves, hey, listen, there's a lot of data, like financial data, which is, how's this stock's valuation? How's its growth rate? And so we have an enormous amount of data on Seeking Alpha. But again, the question we asked ourselves was, how can we give you a really accurate picture of the stock in like 2 minutes? And so there's a quant rating here, which is overall what our quant system thinks of the stock, but it's based also on these factor grades, where we compare all the data for this stock to all the other stocks in its sector. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, we compare all the valuation metrics for the stock to all the other stocks in its sector. And then and it turns out that Facebook, compared to the other stocks in its sector, gets a C grade on valuation and a B plus on growth and an A plus on profitability and a D plus on momentum and a B on earnings revisions. Mm-hmm. And so kind of in 1 minute, you've got a pic, and we show you what it was 3 months ago and 6 months ago. You've got a picture of the stock. But what's really unique about this is that you can drill down on all of these things to see all the underlying data. So if you want to do more research, right? If you want to read the articles, if you want to understand why it gets, so for example, let's do growth, right? I'm going to click on growth. Here are all of the underlying metrics, which are growth metrics for Facebook. It's year-over-year growth rate, it's forward growth rate, which is analyst estimates of how much it will grow over the next year. It's EBITDA growth in the last year. It's free cash flow per share growth, EPS growth, all of these. And it shows you each of these metrics for Facebook and shows you the sector median of all the stocks in Facebook's sector. And then Facebook's difference to those, and it puts a grade on it on every single one of the underlying metrics. So the beauty here is that I think there's a lot of websites that give you kind of grades or ratings for stocks, but it's a black box and you don't really understand why. And you have to track. The beauty is what we're really trying to do is not tell you what the stock is. We're trying to summarize the data for you. So, and then if you want to open it up and drill down. So for example, if we look at value, right? So, here it's got non-GAAP PE ratio, the trailing 12 months, the forward, meaning that the PE ratios that analysts use, where they adjust for one-time things like that. And then there's GAAP, trailing 12 month and forward, and enterprise value to sales, both forward and trailing, enterprise value to EBITDA, all of the price to sales, all of these. The beauty of all of this is that you don't have to believe our ratings. You can just look at all the underlying data if you want to. So let's say, for example, you say, I'm a growth investor and I'm only interested in stocks with really good growth. You can look at this immediately and say, okay, I'm not interested in that stock. I don't need to spend half an hour researching it because it just doesn't have good enough growth. And I trust the ratings here. And then when you find the stocks that you're interested in, you can go into a lot of depth and you can look at it. You can look at all of the underlying data. And in that respect, it's immensely powerful because, and I think this is very relevant to your followers, right, in your Discord as well, which is there are many people who don't have experience with financial analysis and they don't understand what all these metrics are. And for them, what we give them is a really robust system that in 2 minutes, we give them this scorecard where they can see, okay, Seeking Alpha authors are bullish on this stock. Wall Street's bullish on this stock. It's doing well in growth and profitability and earnings revisions, and it's okay in valuation. The momentum isn't great right now. I'm happy to buy it. And they can make their decisions just based on that. But for the people who want to drill down a lot more, or as an investor gets more sophisticated and learns more, let's say they go through your university, right? Then all the data is here on Seeking Alpha. And it's just remarkably, the amount here is astonishing. But what we've tried to do is also make it really simple and instantaneous for people who just say, please give it to me on a plate. I don't want to spend an hour on this.
Right.
Let me know immediately.
What I'm seeing though here is that I know there are people in my tribe who really don't know the difference between value and growth. They I have so many people say, I have been afraid of the stock market and now after watching you, I have an understanding and I just buy what you buy. Well, I'm not comfortable with that. But
Yeah.
where do we go to teach them the difference between value and growth? Is it by value? What does value mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
profitability, momentum, but
Listen, what's actually really exciting here is if you're thinking about what to include in your university,
yeah,
right? This was the reason I love this is because this was built by a quant guy who I met early on in my career and then circled back with him and we acquired his company. But this is quantitative data for fundamental investors, right?
okay,
This is the way I think as a fundamental investor, which is how cheap is the stock or how expensive is it relative to other stocks? How fast is this company growing relative to others? How profitable is this company? Does the stock have momentum or not? And our analysts, the one that needs most explanation is earnings revisions, but it turns out to be one of the most important, which is our analysts revising up or down their estimates for how much the company is going to earn. Generally, when analysts start revising down estimates, that means that the stock is going to be, there's momentum to that. So it means the stock's going to become more expensive because, for example, for the price it's at now, if it's going to earn less, analysts are revising down their numbers, it's going to get more expensive. It means its growth rate's going to go down. It obviously, often what happens is downward earnings revisions impact the price of a stock immediately. So it impacts its momentum, right?
see,
So what you could do, for example, is you could take this card, the factor grades card, and say, I'm going to do a couple of videos explaining what each of these 5 things are and why they matter.
yeah,
Because what we didn't do was, there are lots of other systems where they've got kind of ratings on stocks. I looked at all of them. And the problem is they don't match the way I think about stocks as a fundamental investor, right? And so the beauty of this is, it's like if you take people through these, this is actually kind of investing 101. This is how to think about stocks, which is, how fast is this company growing? And the beauty of this is that once you just understand the concepts, that this kind of scorecard just does it for you instantaneously.
Exactly.
Rigorous. Yeah. We have to do tens of millions of calculations every morning. These are updated every morning. And there's tens of millions of calculations because you're comparing all these metrics to the same metrics for every other stock in the sector, and then grading every stock relative to all the others. So it's impossible to calculate this on your own. I mean, you could do it, but it will take you a day to get one of these grades, right? If you ran the calculations. And so this is kind of the power of massive computing with huge amounts of data. But what I love about it is that the system's very transparent. I'll give you one other example of just the kinds of, there's all sorts of surprises in the system. Let's say you're saying, I really want to just check all the news on this company. I'm very interested in this stock. What's the news been? Well, if you look at this page, you have to click on each of these headlines and you're clicking backwards and forwards. If you click on the news tab and you're a premium subscriber, look at this. It just gives you a
summarizes,
of each news story, and you can hide the summaries, just see the headlines, or open the summaries. You can filter the news by type. So you can say, okay, I just want to see their earnings. How were their earnings? And here's just their earnings news, right? So I can see each earnings and read the reports of that. Or, for example, are they acquiring any companies? This is M&A news. So if I want to see which companies Facebook has acquired, this is M&A news just about Facebook. And so, this is, what I looked at when we built this was, I came from the world of professional investing where people use, Bloomberg and FactSet, IQ, and these platforms cost thousands and thousands of dollars per year. And my goal was, let's democratize this. Let's make it available for everyone, right? And the results of this are incredible. And so the line what we're trying to achieve here is, how can we, on the one hand, make this really accessible to new investors and for people who don't want to spend a lot of time, either because generally they don't want to spend a lot of time, or they're just not ready to yet on this stock before they narrow down their list, right? And on the other hand, so how do we make it really easy and give you a view of the stock literally in 2 minutes that you can trust? But then also, if you want to drill down, we can give you all of the information. We can give you articles and news and all the underlying data so that you never have to trust us or trust our ratings. You can, if you want to evaluate it all for yourself, it's all there. And we've made it super easy to drill down. And if I had to describe the platform, in the simplest way, that's it. That's what we're doing here. And it's really unparalleled.
This is a message that needs to get out. I just don't, and I guess my question is, how have you in the past got this message out?
Not very well, because I'm a product guy. And by the way, I'm actually quite introvert, right? Unlike you, who's doing these amazing YouTube videos, Carrie. I'm this kind of like quiet guy. My name isn't on the Seeking Alpha platform, even though I founded it and built the product. I love just kind of, keeping behind the curtain and producing great things for people. And so we've never really done marketing and we've never done PR, but we now have millions of users, and the number of subscribing to Seeking Alpha Premium is just rocketing. And part of the reason is we just obsess about the products.
Okay, that was David Jackson, CEO, founder, very enlightening about Seeking Alpha. I'm going to follow up with him later this week, and we're going to actually put together an hour course of understanding Seeking Alpha, and I'm going to lean on him as often as I can to give us more and more knowledge of this platform, because I honestly believe this will level the playing field. You have many analysts working for hedge funds, mutual funds, ETFs, whatever. This is your opportunity to broaden your horizons and become a better investor.